Welcome to the Good Morning from the Chicken Coop podcast with Kim Johnson, your creative strategist and master mindset coach. Filled with inspiration, distinctions, perspectives, and possibilities, we help you to cultivate a mindset that leads you to create the best version of yourself you could ever imagine. Join Kim every morning from one of her favorite happy places, her chicken coop, along with all her chickens.
Hey everybody, good morning from the chicken coop. So with everything that's going on in this world and how quickly and fast-paced it seems to be every day, if it's not one thing, it's another, I would like to talk to you about living with uncertainty. So we all have it. We all understand what it means. We all understand the concept of uncertainty. And I think that for most of us, we don't realize how much of it is around us and how much it's played upon every day in our media, in our families, and how much time we as human beings spend thinking about what if this goes on, if this goes on, if this goes on. Now, don't get me wrong. That is an actually really good part of who we are, that we can project and future pace and think about something and say, how will I handle that if this happens? The challenge we have is when it comes into our lives and stays there and it just ruminates in us. It gets into our bones, it gets into our very fiber, into our soul, and it creates havoc because we can't stay in that state. Part of our well-being, part of our psychological well-being as human beings is to gain certainty. And it makes us feel safe, right? We all need safety. We all understand the concept of basic human needs, and we all need shelter, we all need food, we all need to feel like we have a safe umbrella, if you will. Well, when you stay in uncertainty, it does a lot of things to your biochemistry that are not great. So on a very basic level, this is why they say stress is the worst thing for your health. Well, it really is, because when you stress, all that energy has to go somewhere, and it shifts your biochemistry. So that's why people who are very stressed out have heart attacks. Typically it leads to other behaviors that aren't great as well, such as abuse of alcohol, abuse of food, abuse of drugs, abuse of sex, lots of different things, because that stress, that is energy, and that energy has to go somewhere. So you can't just ignore it. You got to transfer it into something. That's why if you quit smoking, let's say, often the person you're working with to help you quit smoking will say, well, we have to replace that with something. We have to replace that habit with something. Well, think of the habit as energy. That energy has to go somewhere. So uncertainty for us is a huge buildup of energy that blocks us. It blocks our systems. And the more we focus on uncertainty, the more we actually get uncertainty, because as you've heard me say, and you will continue to hear me say, it's such an important factor to realize, energy is everything, and emotions are nothing but pure energy. And they're potential energy, right? It can go in either direction. It can go left or right. It can go to the dark side, to the light side, however it is that you want to look at it. But emotions are pure energy. So when we start focusing our attention on uncertainty and giving it undue attention, too long of a stint with it, we do ourselves psychological damage and we do ourselves physiological damage. So why am I bringing this up today? Well, it seems that lately, again, here we go again with all the drama of everything that's going on in the world, you can't escape it. It's always been this way. However, since we've had the pandemic, it's gotten more and more and more intense. And it seems to get more and more intense because they have to get our attention, because we have been desensitized. So everything is made into drama. Everything is big. Everything is huge. And we have to choose to dial it back in our heads, and we have to decide how we want to show up and who we want to be. The fundamentals of this process are pretty simple. I can tell you, shut the news off. I can tell you to do tactical things. I can say, for those of you who want to be informed, you can dive in for 1 minute, set your timer and say, let me just take the USA Today version of the news and walk away. But even at that state, it doesn't mean you're letting it go afterwards. It doesn't mean that you're going about your day and you're not having it dwell inside of you, having it sit there and eat at you all day long, because that's what it does. So how do we actually live with uncertainty? What do we do with it? Well, the fundamental piece that I think is so critically important is to constantly be monitoring your attention and where it's going. If your attention, and you find that your attention is constantly floating to worry, if you find that your attention is constantly going to uncertainty, well, I don't know, listen to how many times a day you use the words, well, I don't know, because that actually denotes the fact that you are in uncertainty and you're kind of processing, looking for answers, but you don't know how to get there. And that in itself is stressful. You've got to become okay with not knowing. You've got to become okay with, it doesn't matter how much I know or I don't know. What matters is that I'm okay when I do know. So for me, I'm hyper certainty driven. I want to know on a Monday what we're doing on Friday. I want to know where we're going to eat. I want to know how the whole year is going to lay out. I get very hyper focused on things like that, and I have to work really hard personally on not driving everyone crazy around me, because I might like certainty, but my husband does not even come close to that. So I have to realize it's his space too, and when I get over certainty driven, I push that to him and I look to him for answers. And he's a guy that's like okay with not knowing. He is really great with uncertainty. He's just like, all right, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and he can just check out and let it go. So the first thing you have to do is recognize you don't need to know everything. And it doesn't help to know everything. I remind myself constantly, this isn't something I need to know right now, but I do need to be healthfully prepared and taking care of myself, so if something does show up, I can be good to deal with it. The second thing is you need to monitor that internal dialogue and ask yourself, how much am I saying, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know? And is that creating angst in my body? So that you can stop that process and slow it down and say, I don't need to know. I am okay not knowing. I am okay not knowing. I am fully equipped to be able to figure this out on the fly. That's one of my favorite statements to tell myself. I can figure this out on the fly. I'm good, because I'm centered and I'm taking care of myself. And the third thing is really start to dial back how much you tap into things that bother you. It becomes an addiction in itself. So shut the news off. Don't pay attention to everything, because tomorrow is going to be the same thing and you can always catch up. If you're someone who's really addicted to it, just realize you could skip a whole week and come back and you'd be hearing the same crap all over again. So it's really important to pay attention to that. Dial it back. Go to things that make you happier. Go to things that make it easier on your soul so that you don't have to deal with it nonstop. And give yourself a little break and a little grace and realize this is a practice. This isn't going to happen overnight, but it's a beginning that I wanted to introduce you guys to, and we will talk about it more. And this is awareness is the fundamental piece of it. So let's start there, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.